And today we are so excited to have two great speakers with us. We're going to start out with Lisa Wisely, who owns Blue Spark Creative here in Delaware County, New York. She has an amazing history and resume of how she came to do what she's doing. And she is a force here in our little community. She's presented to farmers for our workshops before and just really given us a lot of good insight into how to shout from the rooftops what we're doing. So with that, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Lisa.
Okay. Hi, everyone. How are you? As Carla said, my name is Lisa Wisely. I am a marketing and business consultant for a variety of businesses, but mostly nonprofits, farming, hospitality, and tourism has kind of been my focus. And although I have been in a wide variety of kind of types of marketing, I would say digital is my preferred method of marketing. And that is not because I do not love print. I love holding a piece of paper and seeing a beautiful ad or something gorgeous like a travel guide. But what I love about digital is that it is very flexible, easy to change, easy to update, unlike a print ad where you are basically putting it in there and you don't have any other way of changing it once the ad is live. With digital, if I don't like what's happening, I can typically pull it out if I do any kind of social media advertising in particular. There is so much that we could talk about in social media, but Carla has asked us to talk today about algorithms and sort of organic engagement. So I'm just going to go a little bit in there. It's it can be a little complicated. So I want to have this be more conversational and just kind of explain a little bit about what you need to know as you dive into using social media for your business. Does that all make sense, Carla? Is that where we want to go?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And if anyone, I'm not sure how we run this, but if anyone, like, we could stop for questions after each period of like little section, or we could do some questions at the end. I'm open to whatever we want to do. So
I will keep a chat box on, I will keep an eye on the chat box for you.
Okay.
And if something pops up and it's a good time to interrupt you, I'll pop in, but otherwise just do your thing.
Okay, awesome.
Get away.
Thank you. All right, so and of course this won't work because that would be, impossible. There we go. Okay. So one of the questions that Carla asked me is like really to explain what an algorithm is. I think you hear it a lot on the news, or if you're just talking about social media, especially right now with all the privacy issues and the conversations that are happening about TikTok, which is under some scrutiny because of its connections to China. But basically an algorithm is the machine that is behind all the social media platforms that we use. There's no a human being back there saying, oh, I think you'll like flowers. Oh, I think you're interested in farming. It's all a machine. And the algorithm basically ranks what it believes you as the person who is using social media wants to see. And this is really important for us to learn as marketers, because we want to give content, give information that the people who would be interested in our content and our brands want to see. So just think of the algorithm as a set of rules and signals that tell the machine, again, whatever social platform we're on, what it is that you want to see. And I think we can get some real world examples of myself and probably you to figure out exactly what that looks like when you're using social media. Again, just like think about it as a ranking signal, letting people know what you want. I'll use the example for me. So I am that person who goes to bed and has like 10 minutes of downtime before I go to sleep. And I, of course, want to get to, I'm on Instagram and I start scrolling and I want to see a happy video where an animal was on the streets in, bad shape and someone saved it. I am that demographic of the animal video. I am then a person who also likes to look at cooking posts. So a recipe about vegan crab cakes or a vegan salad. I am not a vegan, but I like to cook vegan because I don't always want to rely on dairy, which I am vegetarian. So I think everyone can sort of know if they're using social media, those times where you start thinking about, or you start using social media and you like something. You don't even have to click the like. You don't even have to like the profile. But because I watched one animal video where an animal was, in bad shape, brought into a great new life, I am now served those ads over and over again. And so that is the algorithm in action. I am a person who watches that. I watch the entire video. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I share that video. Sometimes I make a comment. And that is the algorithm then saying, well, this human being, this person definitely wants to see more animal videos. So even if I do not follow a video, a profile about an animal, I then start getting served that. And that's what really the algorithm is doing. It is identifying what the consumer is interested in, what it's willing to watch, what it wants to consume more of, or it's guessing what you want to consume more of. And then it starts serving you that. And that really, again, is as marketers, is what we need to be mindful of. So my business, if I sell rings, I want to make incredible content, and I want people who are interested in all the things that I am going to sell. And so that is important in the way we set up the social media post. It's important about the way we write the post. It's important about the way we hashtag the post. And then we start to hopefully get that organic reach. Every single algorithm for every single social media platform is completely different. Every single algorithm changes from, I would say, very often. I don't know if you've ever been on Facebook and you start to see certain things and all of a sudden you never see them again. And you're like, what happened? And that's just that Facebook has changed the algorithm. And Facebook is notorious for changing the algorithm, and often to their own detriment, says many of my friends who work for Facebook. So I think that you guys, from what I understand, are starting or are in or starting or growing businesses. And so you'll probably be at that point in time where you want to focus on a social media platform that's going to help your business. You can't do them all. I don't recommend you doing them all. I don't do them all for any of my clients. And some of my clients have significant budgets, but we do the social media platforms that we think are going to matter to the people who are interested in our content and our product. So we'll just do a quick cursory of the algorithm by platforms. Instagram, you're definitely going to see people that you follow. People are going to see people that engage. So for example, if your business is on there, you're going to want to make sure that you are responding when someone responds to your post. It's very one of those things where you're just going to want to have interactions with people who might be interested in your products. Relevance is key, popularity pops. These are all sort of standards of the Instagram thing. It's, our Instagram skews a little younger as compared to Facebook. And you'll start to get greater traction in the algorithm if you have people respond to your posts quicker when you post them. As I said, the algorithm's always changing. And one of the key contents of Instagram, which at this point is trying to keep up with TikTok, is that video is always going to be very important. And Instagram's Reels, which is their video program within Instagram, basically has a large share of the concentration of the platform right now. So if you are someone who can create video, Reels is one of those places that you should focus a little bit of energy on. Facebook, as you might know, is really about connections, who you're already connected to, who you follow, who follows you. You're going to see content of people who you are engaging with regularly, and that might be liking their posts, commenting on their posts. Video is also key on the basic Facebook platform as well. and photos are incredibly important as well, and making sure that they're very clear. One of the things to know about Facebook too is I've had clients kicked off Facebook for putting photos that had too many graphics. The general rule on Facebook is that they only want 20% of type on an image. So say, for example, you did an image and you put a lot of text over it. I've had clients actually images rejected and then been banned for a period of time because they kept doing that. And it's just something that I don't believe the algorithms like. They want more clear, clean photos. So something just to keep in mind as you create your content for your business is keeping in mind that really photos, clear photos are very important to them. And that does start to affect your algorithm if any of the social platforms don't like your content. And we'll go into that a little bit later. The more popular your post, the more people that are engaging, the more you get shared to other people and other things that aren't following you. And the Facebook is really looking for the kind of content that is, I mean, so they say, meaningful, informative, and authentic. So the more clear and the more engaging an image or a video can be, and the more clear a post can be with a real clear call to action, the more they like your profile. I'm not sure how many people are using TikTok. Some people absolutely love it. Some people don't. Again, it depends on what you have to work with as far as creating content. But TikTok is a little different on how they rank the algorithms. Interactions are more important, whereas Facebook is often ranking you on how many people are following you. Your interactions are more important on TikTok. The actual followers or how many people are following you or how many people you're following do not matter as much. And there's something called the Discover tab, which is basically going to be giving you stuff that it thinks you are interested in learning and finding out more. These are not people you necessarily follow or accounts you necessarily follow, but they are going to give you things, serve you things based on what you have already interacted with on TikTok. Location and language, content from your own country is preferred. TikTok is about trends. And again, I said follower count does not matter on TikTok. And that is something just to keep in mind. Now we'll get into a little bit of more detail about what platforms you might consider using. And I would just say that TikTok is a fantastic platform for as long as we're allowed to use it. It might get banned at some point. It's a fantastic thing if you are doing video and if you are really willing to be kind of a first person communicator. And that might not be comfortable for everyone, but it is a great method for that. Again, focusing on video, if you are making video, can make video, YouTube is an incredible platform. And your algorithm there is going to be judging you or judging the user on performance. How popular was your video? What was the watch history? What's the context? And they're constantly serving up like, hey, you liked a video about, you know, monkeys. Here's another video about monkeys. So there's just a constant way, the algorithm's just looking for those sort of connections, but video performance and how much engagement it got is definitely the key to being successful on YouTube. So here, 70% of YouTube watch time is based on what algorithms recommend. So if I go on there looking for animal videos, YouTube is going to recommend more animal videos to me. That's the algorithm at work on YouTube. Pinterest is a special kind of place, and I think one that would be great for flower farmers. It does not really, it doesn't work like a lot of other platforms, social media platforms. It's judging you on the quality of your pins based on the quality of your website's popularity. And so it just basically is because you're taking it from a website, whatever that content is, and it's judging you on that quality of the content, which again is going to rule everything, no matter what platform you're using. here I'm going to go into some tips on how to work the algorithms. These are going to be across all platforms, and then we can get a little bit more deep into individual platforms that might be right for your businesses. And we can also stop for questions at any time. I know that everyone has like a different level and interest in social media. So if I'm going too fast, please let me know. All right, so when you are considering social media for your business, you are going to want to think about how to work the algorithms to benefit you. And also, I want to say that all these tips that we're giving are all based on organic posting or organic content. This is not paid media, which is a whole other kit and caboodle. Paid media will get you to people that are not following you, that are not necessarily already in your wheelhouse. But these particular tips are for organic. So you're not, in theory, not paying for anything. But the most important thing, no matter what platform you want to work on, is making sure that the content you're developing is the highest quality. Something to keep in mind is, I think I mentioned on Facebook, if you were to put a blurry video on any of the platforms, really, but Facebook in particular, you basically get downgraded on the algorithm. It's like it doesn't like you as much anymore because your quality of content hasn't been as good as it wants it to be. So when you're posting a photo, posting a video, posting any kind of information, you want to make sure that it's always the best it can be, the image is clear, and that you're talking about exactly what it is that you are speaking about. I just had a friend last night talk to me about using artificial intelligence to come up with hashtags. I won't go on a whole segue here, but basically they were like, yeah, it's really interesting. Artificial intelligence can give you the best hashtags, even if it has nothing to do with the content you're posting. And I was like, but that would make me really mad if I was looking for a hashtag and then I got served content that had nothing to do with what the hashtag was that I was looking for. So I would highly recommend just making sure that everything you are doing is simple and clear, and that your call to action is always very, very simple. I do a lot of posts for tourism, and I share a lot of content for people. And I love sharing content when it's a very simple message, very clear photo, very clear video, and I know exactly what I'm saying because I'm taking your video or your content and I'm sharing it with another larger group of people. And most recently, I had a gentleman who was performing live. He was doing a concert and he had this very, very, very long post. The image was confusing. And it did not say in the graphic or in the content of the post where he was going to be performing, what day he was performing, what time he was performing. And he kept reaching out to me on Instagram in my private messages saying, can you share this? Can you share this? And I said, well, I don't know what's going on here. I can't share it because I don't want to confuse anyone. I'm not answering questions when someone says, I don't know where this event is, or I don't know what time this event is. And his response to me was that he thinks people are curious and they will click in a couple of times deeper and they will find out on their own. And I was like, I don't agree with that. Our job as marketers is to make sure that everything we are trying to communicate, everything we are trying to sell, everything we're trying to share makes it as easy as possible to get to the content we want them to know. So just in general, whatever social media platform you are going to work on, just keep in mind that quality and clarity are like the most important things. There's also a lot of tools within each platform that you can use, specifically on TikTok and Instagram, like stickers and sounds and music and polls and all those things, which are really user-friendly and easy, and they actually really do help us with engagement. Again, going back to the same thing, just making sure that your posts are engaging and they are going to stand out. Short form video, that's usually about 15 to 30 seconds. Images and live video are the three most engaging types of social feed and content. And people again, we as marketers are always marketing. No matter what I'm doing, I'm marketing. But the more I market in an authentic way that does not appear to be a marketing piece, the more engagement I typically find. So it's just something to keep in mind. You don't, as you start your social media journey with your new product or you're expanding your products, you don't want to make it seem like you're constantly selling, because no one wants to be sold to, even if everyone is well aware they are being marketed to at all times. Another thing is to make sure when you're on social media that you're delivering what you promise. This goes back to that same hashtag or messaging that is confusing or offering something different. Clickbait, which is basically, you see those all the time. You'll be like scrolling on a newspaper and they'll be like, Jennifer Lopez is dead. Jennifer Lopez is not dead. It just wanted you to click there, and then it's trying to sell you like motor oil. That's clickbait. It was a huge problem in social media in the early days, and it made people not trust that they were going to get the content they were looking for. So it's just one of those things that the algorithm will downgrade you if it feels like you're not doing the right messagings. So I would just make sure that your headline, your caption, your hashtags are accurate and clear, and your call to action, no matter what that is also very clear. One of the other important things as you venture into social media is knowing your audience. And that will help you decide where you want to spend your time. If you think that your audience is hyper local, or you think your audience is nationwide, do you think your audience is young? Do you think your audience skews a little bit older? Do you think your audience is savvy to buy online? One of the most important things you can do when you're starting your social media journey or any kind of marketing journey is do a persona, which is basically just breaking down who you believe your audience, your target audience to be. And it just kind of helps you understand them, what you believe to be them, understand their potential buying habits, understanding where you think you will find them. I think of marketing as kind of a psychology exploration. I just always kind of want to get into the head of the person I am speaking to, no matter who my client is that I'm working on. And so really, sometimes it really helps to just break that down and know who your audience is so that you're talking specifically to them. And you might have multiple audiences and you can craft that, your posts for that. In the case of where I do a lot of tourism marketing, I'm crafting different messages for someone who lives in downstate, like New York City, because that's one of my tourism feeder markets. And then I'm often crafting a message for people who live in Canada. And those are just locations, but I also craft messages based on, I think these people would love organic food. They might be foodies. So you're just really important for, as you start your journey, to remember to like really get inside the head of who you believe your buying audience is. I was mentioning how I thought, how I tried to share the live performers' content. We always want to be thinking about creating content that is easily shareable. And the more people share that content, the better we are on the algorithms. So when you're creating something, always think about, does this at first glance, at quick glance, make a lot of sense? And will somebody be interested in sharing it? I think one of those great, I don't know if you guys have seen the posts, they're kind of everywhere, but we do those posts that are like national days, right? These made up fake days like National Wine Day, National, Fried Egg Day. I mean, I have a whole entire calendar of it. It makes so much sense for some of my clients because they then get to say their viewers, their audience, and then gets to share it with their friends and be like, oh, it's National Wine Day. And here's my favorite wine bar. So when you're creating content, you just want to think about creating content that will be shareable. And ultimately that really does help with your algorithm. Especially if you're thinking about TikTok and even Instagram, trending topics, most important things. You want to make sure that you're doing this in an authentic way that doesn't feel like almost like clickbait. You don't want to talk about things that have nothing to do with your products or your brand. But if you have an opportunity to connect your brand, your product, your, anything you're doing to a current trend, it really does ultimately help people share it, and people will comment on it, and ultimately that will help you also with the algorithm. There are a lot of tools available if you ever use, so I use Hootsuite. That's just one place where I post all my clients. I do their Instagram, their Facebook, their Twitter, and it's all like in one place, and I can schedule it. I can do a variety of things. But one of the things that is very helpful in that tool, and that's just one of many, is that it tells me the best time to post when I'm scheduling. And the algorithm really does notice when you're posting and you're sharing at the best times that it believes to be the best times. So if you ever have an opportunity to use a tool like a Hootsuite, again, there's tons of them. Also, that is available like in Constant Contact or MailChimp when you're doing newsletters. There's like, it recommends the best time to share. And that's just one thing to keep in mind, is that there's always a better time to send something or a better time to post thing than others. And again, that does help with your algorithm. When you are creating content, it's always great to encourage comments, shares. That can often happen by asking a question that you put out there. So there's like some people feel obligated or inclined to respond. You can do polls. That's very popular on Instagram. That's just a sticker. You can ask the question like, do you for Easter, do you prefer yellow tulips or pink tulips? And people vote. It's a throwaway question. Do you really care? But it has people engaging with your content, and that really helps with your organic engagement. Another thing that I found very a great way to both get new followers and also collect email addresses, which is another important marketing tool, is to run contests. You can run a simple contest like everyone share this hashtag, everyone, put something out there, share it with 5 friends, and then you pick a winner based on finding those hashtags, to a more complex one where you are getting, you're using a software that actually does contests that's very affordable. But ultimately, it's just a great way to get more engagement and to get greater share, which again helps all your algorithms. And the other thing to know is that, so I've been doing digital since 2000, I want to say, in various forms. I worked with Blue Man Group. I worked with a giant digital agency called Situation. And I've had my own company here in Delaware County, New York since 2014. And the most important thing you can do is just test and to experiment and to have fun and to see what works. And I know that's very hard when your business is running your business, but if you want to really use social media and you want to use it successfully for your business without spending a lot of money, I would suggest really just working on developing great content and just experimenting and looking at your analytics on every platform. They're visible, and making sure that you can, see what worked, and then start to follow. Oh, wait, that photo of that simple flower was the most shared. I'm going to go make more content like that. Oh, that quick video of me, gardening or picking something up, that was shared, and then start to create content and messaging that's very similar. So don't be afraid of experimenting. The worst thing that can happen is it won't get a lot of activity, and then you just learn from that as well. It wasn't the right post for you. But testing and just having fun with it are really important things to do. And I think we talked about a little bit before, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, just video is just incredible. And it doesn't have to be you hiring a videographer and spending a fortune. Our phones, they are incredible things. We take video all the time. As long as the quality is good, as long as it's not shaky, as long as it's, beautiful and compelling, you should be able to make really quick videos and share them. And I think that just, again, going back to experimentation, that is somewhere where I would highly recommend spending some time figuring out what's right for you and for your products. Okay, I'll pause for 1 second, Carla, if there's any questions that are relevant.
We have a couple in the comments.
Okay.
The first one is from Jenny Hines. She wants to know if using hashtag handles at the end of posts in Facebook and Instagrams helps the algorithm to get you more noticed.
Okay, so yes, hashtags do count, but that's based on, so hashtags are important for a couple of things. I, for example, will look for hashtags because I want to find relevant content to what I'm interested in sharing. So I do the tourism for Delaware County. So I'm always looking for people who are using the hashtag Great Western Catskills, which is like our primary hashtag. Then I'll also look for towns. I'm just looking. And so I'm now actually using existing content, which would be the greatest thing in the world. If someone took I tagged Great Western Catskills, and then a bigger brand or a bigger company or a bigger profile with much more followers used it, then they share my content. And that's ultimate, that's social media. That's why we share. So for Instagram, hashtags are very important. They get tracked. As you know, you can go on Instagram and look up tags and you can see how many people are following a tag. So that definitely helps with the algorithm. Facebook is tricky. I do not use hashtags on Facebook. They tried to introduce hashtags onto Facebook a few years ago. They try every once in a while to bring it in. It just has never caught on. And I don't personally know if it benefits or does not benefit the algorithm there for Facebook. I don't think it's a hashtag culture. Even though every once in a while they try to bring them back. But you'll notice that often a lot of people have that where they connect their Instagram to their Facebook. So the post you do on Instagram automatically goes to your Facebook. And so the hashtags are there. I will typically, if a client has that connection, I will typically go into Facebook and get rid of the hashtags. I think they muddy things up and they're confusing. But definitely hashtags do benefit you on the algorithm. And if people are sharing a hashtag that you are using, that you've just made up or you've created, that definitely benefits you as well.
Excellent. And then Hannah would like to know, do you know what the best platform would be to determine the best time for Pinterest posts and allow scheduling post creation?
Well, there are a ton of different, so just, as you might imagine, there is a service for everything. There is hashtag creator services. There is best time to post services. I typically start everything with Google because Google is primarily a free thing. I mean, as long as you're not unwilling to give away all your everything that you're looking at. So I always start with Google, but I use a ton of different services, which I'm also happy to kind of give a resource guide to the group after of just some certain things. Some of them are free, some of them are cost. But I bet you I would start with Google and see where you find for Pinterest and to find the best time to post. I'm sure it's readily available on Google. And again, like Hootsuite doesn't do Pinterest, but it does all the other things and it tells me when I should be posting, which I find very helpful. But in particular, I'm not as familiar with Pinterest, but I bet you that's something you could easily find.
Great. And then Jenny asked, what do you think is the best way to get noticed on Facebook?
On Facebook? Well, unfortunately, it's advertising. None of these giant companies decided to open their doors without the idea of making a lot of money. So it used to be, I remember when I first started using Facebook, I could get different followers and, I could get beyond my little circle, and it got harder and harder and harder because ultimately Facebook wants you to advertise. I am a strong advocate of Facebook advertising because it is very simple. And it is a very low cost to enter. You could do $5 a day and have a really successful, and you can target to who you want to talk to. So if you really want to get a broad reach, I would say advertising is something to consider. But I would also say that using stories, because stories are still relatively new for Facebook, stories and Instagram Reels are still relatively new. So when you create content that lives there, it gets beyond your followers because they're still serving up, again, with the algorithm saying, oh, this person's posting stories about flowers. This person over here who doesn't know about this flower farm, they over here are interested. So if you don't want to spend any money in advertising, I would say focus on stories in addition to the posts, which are basically on your profile wall, so to speak.
Great. Okay, it looks like we're all caught up on questions.
All right, so I'm just going to go into a very quick cursory of the platforms that you might consider, and then we can talk about what we think might be right for you guys. So one thing to consider here is, how do I get rid of that? I was about to leave. No, okay. One thing to consider, oh, I went too far, sorry. Come back. Oh no, I'm going the other way, sorry. All right. I don't consider Google specifically as a social media platform, but one of the most important things you can do as a business is to make sure you are 100% accurate and up to date and available on Google, specifically My Business, which is kind of, you claim it, right? You come in, you're starting a business or you just moved to a new location and you claim your business. That's how, when we do a search and we say Blue Spark Creative, it comes up with my phone number, my hours of operation, what I do. Most important platform, I would say, for any business is to make sure that you're on Google and you're accurate. 5 billion active users are on Google. They change this all the time, but I think it's just one of those very important places that any business that wants people to come to it or know about it is there. And you don't even have to put a phone number if you don't have one. That's very common for a lot of businesses who are just not phone specific. But if you have a website and a location that people need to know about, I think it's a very important place for any business to be. And the way that happens now often is you need to verify your listing, like you own this business, and you typically will get a postcard sent to you with a code if you can't do instant verification. So just one of those things I would highly recommend anyone who has a location to do. Facebook, I think Facebook still, there's a lot of debate on, is Facebook still relevant? Do people care? People always say like nobody young is on Facebook. I don't believe that to be accurate, especially when I look at my analytics of all the clients I work with. It's still very relevant, I believe, still 2.95 billion active users. I understand the challenges of Facebook. There are times when personally, I'm just like, oh, I don't want to go on there. But from a marketing perspective, I do believe it is a very important place to be, and probably the easiest place for a small growing business to be. And there are a lot of great things about Facebook still. I have a best friend who works at Facebook, and I've like sat him down and been like, why do you keep messing with stuff? So I, as a marketer, get Facebook, totally understand where everything is on the back end, and then they change it. And he explained to me that it's because they hire engineers who are given a bonus if they create something completely new. And they get that, they create something new, and then they get their bonus, and then they leave the company. And that's one of the challenges of Facebook, is that they're trying to always innovate, but they don't necessarily they're not always thinking about the user. Because I just want to use something that's simple, and Facebook has been very simple and easy to use. And then typically they just kind of go and change it. But I would say, as a marketing person, Facebook is still very important. Again, especially if you ever want to do some very simple advertising to make people aware of your business or to actually sell product. YouTube, also fantastic if you are considering doing video. It's very simple to use. It has a lot of viewers, and it does a lot to share content that is relevant to someone who has has similar viewing for your content. If you're not able to do video, it's not in your wheelhouse, I would say stay away from YouTube altogether. You don't need it. Instagram, very, very, very popular. You can do beautiful posts with just using great images. You can also do video. It is also, to me, the best place for purchasing. There are very simple tools to integrate your posts into actual buying power, like actual sales. I'm sure you've seen it a lot. And I can vouch that I am a 2 a.m. wake up in the middle of the night, can't go back to sleep purchasing person. I wake up the next day and I'm like, did I just buy a sweater last night? So I highly recommend, if you have product that you're selling online, that you consider Instagram, because of the sort of the tools that are available for purchasing, and also just awareness tools. It's just it's a great tool, and people are still having a lot of fun with it, and having some innovation with it. TikTok, this is, again, I would say, if you're video, or if you're very, and by video, I don't mean it has to be, again, a really high, expensive, glossy video, but you definitely have to have some personal touch and really think about the content there. But if you are doing short form video, it is really one of the most valuable tools. And especially if you are marketing in any way, shape, or form to a younger demographic, they are on TikTok until it gets taken away from us, which probably won't happen. It'll probably become an American company soon. And then here's just the numbers of some of the other players. Twitter I love Twitter. I still am active on Twitter, but I find it useful if you are wanting to engage with writers or people who are influencing sort of the written word. So I stay on Twitter because I can reach out to writers, people who are, I don't know, making news themselves. It's not for everyone. And then there's Pinterest. LinkedIn is another great way to communicate, and you can do a lot of interesting things there for content. And Facebook Messenger is also really interesting because people are using it as a customer service tool. So if you are someone who needs to communicate, having a very active Facebook Messenger, and you can let people know on Facebook that you are active, you're available, you can talk to people. It's really, I consider that a customer service tool, and people are using it really successfully to sell products. So those are sort of the platforms for all businesses to consider. And I think that's sort of it. We can talk about any questions anyone may have, or anything else I didn't cover.
So Jenny made the comment, if Facebook wants to innovate, they can innovate by sending us users chocolate and wine. I am for that.
I would be totally down with that. I would also love customer service on Facebook. If you've ever had a problem with Facebook, you basically can't talk to a human being. It's impossible. And that can be a bummer. I finally got through to one human being, but it was only because I was advertising. But yeah, I would love some wine and chocolate. That would be great.
Any other questions or comments for Lisa? Someone may be typing.
Okay.
So we'll give them another second. Just trying to think. I know that Lisa's advice really has helped me with our family's baking business. And we're the type of very small operation where we pretty much can sell every scrap that we make. So we don't put a whole lot of energy or time into marketing. But before I took Lisa's class, I was putting way too many words just because I love to play around, like in Canva and with, all the little toys. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. So I simplified things. And in fact, just something as simple the other day, instead of just posting a loaf of bread like I do over and over again, I put one of my kids' sandwiches in there that my husband had made, and it got so much more engagement. So we're lucky in that we have something very beautiful and visual to sell. And some people follow flower farmers who aren't flower customers or other farmers. They just like pretty flowers. So, but people also seem to react really well to posts like where you're showing yourself in the mud or showing a bug or something like that. And Linda can really go into the specifics of what she's seen in terms of engagement on the flower farmers end, but it does seem like when you get out of your usual just a picture of a flower, that's when it blows up. Am I off? Or
no, I think that's totally accurate. I think that people are people are interested in more than just a pretty picture. And the more they can, I'll use an example of a local farmer family that we have here in Delaware County. I love their food. I love the pictures they were posting, but it was when they showed their kids picking carrots and they showed their, the husband in the field, like I started to feel invested in the success of their farm. And I was like, okay, I'm going to drive 20 minutes out of my way to go get their food over farmer A, B, or C down the road. And that isn't because I, like anyone or less better, but I started to get very sort of connected to their story and how they were a young family who just, bought this farm and farming is not easy, as everyone here knows. And so those little personal touches made me as a consumer a lot more invested in them and made me be like, oh, they're at this farmer's market, so I'm going to go to that one, even though it's 20-minute more drive, or they're at this, they're actually doing their own CSA. So instead of doing CSAA, I'm going to do theirs. And that's again, just going back to psychology. How do I, as a marketer, get people to care enough about my product? What sets me apart? And it really does take just that thinking of like, how do I create important enough content that people want to invest in me, as opposed to the next farmer or the next, whatever that is I'm selling. So I think your point's totally valid, Carla. Like the more you share without oversharing, that's an important thing. You don't want to give away all the secrets in the world. But I think it really does help people connect to whatever it is that you are offering the world.
And I think another thing that you told me that was really, really helpful is to be a team player. Don't just make it about you. If you're at the Delhi Farmers Market, tag the Delhi Farmers Market. If you're selling out of the Hamden gas station, tag the Hamden gas station, and they will share it.
Yeah.
And plus it just creates a good relationship when they know that.
Yeah, I think one of the most important thing we can do in our marketing, spheres is be good neighbors. So I, for example, run the social media for a hotel restaurant. And if somebody in our town, the town that this hotel restaurant does something, even if they're another restaurant, we give them love because it just makes people feel good about it, And so if the art gallery across the street's doing something, we let people know. If we're a bar and we're like, the bar across the street's doing something special, we let them know. And people are always surprised. They're like, why would you tell other people to go to a different restaurant? I'm like, well, I'm not doing it every day, but part of what we do as social media people is share the information that is important to the community. Sometimes the community is global and sometimes the community is just one town, but I think it's an important thing to be a good neighbor.
Great. So Jenny, okay, well, Kate asked, are there any programs like Hootsuite that are free?
Some of them start free. They don't stay free. The ones I use, there's Sprout Social, there's Hootsuite. I call those aggregators. So they're basically like little machines, if you will, that just, I can have 20 different clients and I can see all their streams and everything like that. But really what's free, I guess, is Facebook. I mean, if you get into the meta, if you get into the business, it's called Meta Business now, you can do a lot of the things you can do in Hootsuite. I'm not sure it will tell you when to schedule, like when the ideal, but you can schedule in advance there and there's no cost there unless you're doing advertising. But I don't know that any of those sort of aggregating places that will also, again, help you schedule properly. I would say that the best place to start there is Google, and there might just be some, all of those marketing companies that want you to buy their product give away a lot of content and information for free because they want to lure you into, them, knowing that they're the experts, and they really are. It's really super valuable information, but you don't need to spend that much money if you're only one sort of entity doing posts. So I would just say, look into all that Hootsuite has to offer. They have a ton of free content, but I wouldn't necessarily, they are not as a service free.
Great. And then finally, Jenny Hines commented, my cats in our historical buildings are popular in engagement and our wood stove with the cats laying in front of it.